Everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I want to talk about something I think is quite controversial, but I can't think of another way that it could have happened. There has to be some mechanism in place, some large-scale organisation run by local governments or something to do with this that has caused the problem, which I'll get into in a sec. But I want to preface this by saying that Birmingham is a shithole. And it's been that way for quite a long time. It's filled with immigrants and foreigners that shouldn't be here in the first place. And as a result, there's been massive corruption and massive mismanagement of the local council. They've claimed that they're bankrupt, which has been proven to be suspect in the first place. The misallocation of funds, things going missing, lots of rumours about huge levels of corruption. And I say this because what's happening in Birmingham is what we would consider the result of, again, levels of corruption and mismanagement that you would only see in the third world. And the results of that are scenes that you would usually only see in the third world. Flooding is the first instance of this. So this is back in 2018. The sewer system is obviously not working in Birmingham to such a point where that doesn't look like heavy rain, that looks like light rain, and yet the result of that is the entire street being flooded. Then we move forward to February in 2024, we're seeing the same thing. Huge levels of localised flooding. The drainage system was designed to take care of this stuff, but for some reason, maybe it's not been managed, maybe it's not been maintained. Again, the level of corruption and mismanagement has probably led to this. And this moves on to October 2025, and we're seeing this. These are not normal scenes for anyone looking at this outside of the UK. This is quite bizarre. We're not used to stuff like this. As you can see, the rain is not particularly heavy, but if the water's got nowhere else to go, the road just acts like an aqueduct and funnels the water down any kind of slight incline to the point where it becomes a raging river. Again, why is this happening when we have a sewer system literally designed to handle this, unless it's been massively mismanaged or not maintained? Again, we've got November 2025. This is yesterday. I think this was the beginning of the rains before it got really bad. Again, it's not raining heavily, and yet the sewer system is unable to cope with even light rain. Moving on to this scene here. I mean, this is unreal, guys. This is a normal street in a city that is designed to handle inclement weather. I mean, that's what, 4 foot deep flooding? Cars are almost submerged. This is not normal. Any other city in the UK, this doesn't happen. But for some reason, a Muslim-controlled city with a Muslim majority population is unable to manage basic sewer systems. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because Birmingham has been struggling to get rid of their bins for a long time now. For some reason, they are happy to live like this. They're happy to let the refuse pile up. The local council refusing to do anything about it. And it's been going on now for 250 days. 250 days, and they still cannot solve or are unwilling to solve this problem. And that leads me to this. Out of nowhere, 20 foot deep, 500 foot long, thousands of tons of refuge and waste has been dumped in the River Cherwell in Oxfordshire.
It's just shocking to see the scale of what's taken place here. Behind me, I think we're probably 20 feet high or so, but running back along this site, doubles in height, and you can see the depth. We're talking hundreds at least, if not thousands of tons of.
When I first saw this, I assumed I was looking at pictures of Pakistan or India, and I was absolutely gobsmacked when I saw the title and saw that it was in Oxfordshire.
waste. And it's just extraordinary that this could have taken place and that the criminals have put so much waste into our environment. Cherwell District Council officers who know the waste industry well have estimated that the cost of removing the enormous amount of waste here would be greater than the entire budget of Cherwell District Council. That's not something that local residents and taxpayers can afford, which is why I took the issue to government to say that we need urgent help. What's happening is across the country, criminal gangs are dumping waste on this scale, and it's going to require government intervention to allow us to clean up quickly before these kinds of pollutants leach their way into the River Cherwell.
Now, he says criminal gangs have done this. How and why? That looks like general waste. How are criminal gangs getting hold of general waste, thousands of tons of general waste, and then dumping it in one specific location without anyone noticing? It's not like a couple of gypsies have just put this on their wagon and dumped it in the stream. This is industrial scale dumping of refuge. This would have took trucks after trucks after trucks after trucks. Someone must have seen this happening. There must be some kind of video of this happening. No one could do this without being noticed. And it just brings me back to Birmingham, which is 57 miles away, with a 250-day bin strike. And then we see this. Now, I'm not a genius by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a police inspector. I'm not a detective. But I can add. And one, in my book, equals 2. If you've got a city that is completely mismanaged, full of corruption, and refuses to tackle the problems that any other city in the UK manages to tackle, and then just 57 miles away from that corrupt council, we see industrial scale refuge dumping. Again, guys, I'm not a genius, but someone in Parliament, Rupert Law, anyone, let's have some questions asked about what's going on here and who's done this. I don't believe this is criminal gangs. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I think this is Birmingham City Council. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, someone please check this out for me, because this is absolute bullshit. I'm tired of living in a country with people that don't want to be here, don't respect our laws, don't respect our values, and then to allegedly turn around and do this. I can't prove it, but it stinks. And I'm not talking about the rubbish. See you later.
Deportations are inevitable.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I'm sure after this video I will see the usual 1 or 2 comments below that will say that I'm the problem, thinking for yourself is the problem, that you should just accept, you should just accept everything that people say, you shouldn't really put too much thought into it. Shabana Mahmood is now the saviour of the UK. I fucking can't say that seriously. And that you should just stop thinking critically, stop analysing things, stop looking into things, stop using that noggin, right? When I saw this from Carl Benjamin saying, Shabana Mahmood, BTFO, the entire parliament, using our talking points, what he means is my talking points, I immediately thought, okay, I know what video. Sorry, I'm looking over there because I'm hearing some super weird banging noises. Ghosts. I have ghosts now. Yeah, as soon as I saw this tweet, I was like, okay, I know exactly what kind of video Carl's going to make now. Like, I have a meme for this ready for it, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I don't want to give the game away. Let's move on to his video. Anti-immigration is inevitable. In response to what's currently happening, unless you were like born under a rock or something, or you've been living there for a while, you'll have seen Shabana Mahmood plastered everywhere saying that she's going to tackle immigration. Her wide sweeping revolutionary reforms of reducing the checks on the refugee status to 2.5 years instead of 5 years, and naturalizing people instead of after 5 years, 20 years. That's it. Those two things. But we're seeing it everywhere. Shabana Mahmood, the new face of the right. The Muslim that cares for your country. The Muslim that cares for you and your own. But she's banning migrants coming from Christian countries while not tackling anything to do with, Pakistan or Afghanistan or any other Muslim country that seems to be the problem in this country. I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. I just can't do this. You just have to laugh eventually. It's the narrative is mental. It's mental. I don't know who this is convincing, but apparently it's convincing some people. It's probably people on the left. Or they're part of the big con. I don't know which one's happening. But let's listen to Carl. And I've got nothing against Carl Benjamin. I've been watching this guy for years. I think he's sound. It's just sometimes we get lost in the weeds. Anyway, let's listen to what he's going to say on Shabana Mahmood's, whatever, the Muslim Captain Hooknose. Let's listen to what he's going to say about Captain Hooknose and her vision for the future of Britain and how she's going to tackle all the things that are happening right now, even though she's part of the demographic that's doing this.
The logic against immigration in this country is inevitable. It is going to be that whoever is in charge looks at the figures and says, immigration is ruining us. We cannot afford to do this.
Unless you're part of the people that are doing this. If you're part of that problem, then you're not going to say that, are you? You're not going to say that. Or if you're a sympathizer of those people, you're also not going to say that. So let's not say everyone.
At the moment, Labour are currently preparing for their budget, and it is quite self-evident that despite all of the tax hikes that they've produced, that we are still in a massive deficit, and they still need more money. They still need more of your money. Or, and this is the truly radical part, they could cut the amount of money the government spends.
Or maybe they really don't care about that. Maybe the point is that they want to crash the economy. They want to devalue the pound so they can implement their global currency along with the digital ID. Let's assume for a second that they're not morons and that they have a grand plan, that they have a vision for the future. And it involves stripping away your freedoms, implementing a digital ID along with a one world global currency. Let's assume that.
And immigration is actually a really easy win for the Labour government with the British public. As you can see, as I covered the other day, people are now marching in protest in East Sussex over the plans to house 600 asylum seekers there. You'll recall the Green Party deputy and councillor saying, well, immigrants are welcome, just not in my constituency. And getting absolutely grilled, chewed out by some lady in the audience just talking about the issue. And so this is not an issue that's going to go away. In fact, it's going to get worse. It's going to cost people more money. And so Shabana Mahmood was like, yeah, actually, I think it's going to have to happen. On Monday, I will announce...
Is that what she said? Is that what she said, Carl? Is that what she said?
The most significant changes to our asylum system in modern times. And man, these were better than I expected, frankly. The logic of anti-immigration truly has taken hold in the Labour Party. They have accepted that actually millions and millions of people being flooded into the country is not a good thing, and Shabana has begun on the issue of mass immigration, of illegal immigration. But I want to be very clear, that is by far from being the worst of it. But we'll take a look at the change in attitude, because that's the most interesting thing. And I can't help but notice that there's a kind of sinister aspect to this video. I mean, the lighting is weird. Slightly from the camera slightly tilted below her face, lighting only from one side, The British flag slightly off in the background on the dark side. Like the...
Don't give a shit. Don't give a shit. Does anyone care about the lighting of Shabana Mahmood's fucking face?
The whole thing is just kind of sinister, actually, which is weird. I wouldn't have presented my video announcing that we're going to just start deporting them rapidly like this.
She didn't. No. She didn't announce that she's going to deport anyone. What are you talking about, Carl? What are you doing? What are you doing? You know better than this. Stop it. She hasn't deported. She hasn't announced any deportation plans whatsoever.
But she's been explaining herself how that this is going to have to come about and that this is just something inevitable. I mean, this is what she said the other day on Sky.
I am the child of immigrants. My parents came to this country legally in the late 60s and the early 70s. This is a moral mission for me. I can see that illegal migration is creating division across our country. I can see that it is
Again, right, I want to preface, and I keep doing this, guys, because it needs to be said. The politicians will tell you what the problem is. You will get wrapped up in their rhetoric. You'll be like, wow, she's actually talking about the things that matter. Where's the substance? Where's the actual resolution for the problems that they talk about? They just tell you what the problem is. They keep doing this and people keep falling for it. It's ridiculous. Yes, we know that illegal migration is a problem. We also know that legal migration is a bigger problem. Yes, keep telling us that it's a problem. It is a problem. It is a problem. It is a problem. What are you going to do about it? Well, let's find out. Let's find out in this video if anything is said, any concrete steps are laid out to how they're going to solve these problems that they keep talking about, but do nothing about.
polarizing communities.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I opened X today and I saw this video. I haven't watched it all the way through, but it was the first thing I saw on X, and then I saw another one, and then I saw another one. So I think this might go a little bit viral, I'm not sure. I want to cover it anyway. It's from the BBC, the most transparent, honest, trustworthy source of news in the United Kingdom and worldwide. You should always trust the BBC right up until they lie to your face, and then you still trust them. Just still trust them. They only did it one time, apart from all those other times. Anyway, a local lady from Epping told the BBC that they're not all asylum seekers. Oh, they're not all anti-asylum seekers. I was confused there. They lived alongside them with no trouble in Epping for 5 years. How lucky for you. You're lucky, aren't you? Well done for you. She says that it reminds me of these people, like these boomers in the countryside that are like, no, immigration is perfectly fine. I have no problem with it. I've never encountered one problem with an immigrant. I live in a 99.9% white area. You're all racists. Anyway, so she says that she feels more scared with the violent protesters on the streets. Well, that's framing, isn't it? You could just say protesters. You don't need to say violent. That's framing. Anyway, let's move on.
We were all, I think a few of us separately were feeling really unheard and unrepresented by...
Very nice posh accent there, wasn't it? Oh, well, we were all feeling very unrepresented, and we didn't quite feel as though our opinion was coming across.
Our local leaders, including our councillors and including our local MP. And it seemed that nobody was speaking out loud about how we felt. The fact that we weren't all anti-migrants, we weren't all anti the Bell Hotel. We had lived alongside asylum seekers in our community on and off for over 5 years with...
Well, that's wonderful for you. Do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, well, I can break this down into an analogy. I would describe her as a sheep. A sheep that is living amongst wolves but has never been attacked by the wolves. Maybe because the wolves are fed already and she keeps walking past them, and each time she walks past them unabsconded, if that's the word. Anyway, so just because she's never been attacked by the wolves, she thinks all wolves are sheep. Until the wolves start attacking her and she goes, my throat, why are you trying to eat me, wolves? You've been so nice this whole... But anyway, we'll get to that in a sec.
No trouble. And there was an incident, as everybody is probably aware. Somebody was found, it was a sexual assault.
What was the incident? Are you going to tell us, or are you just going to gloss over that? All right, guys, look, a little bit of context before we move ahead, because this woman isn't going to give any before she goes off in a rant and tells you you're all terrible people for noticing the truth. The young girl that was actually assaulted later came out and said that she felt betrayed and upset and terrified of the fact that the police let the migrant go accidentally back into the local area. But you're all terrible people.
Asylum seeker committed a sexual assault. He was tried through the courts.
What was it?
And he was imprisoned. We
Gloss
have
over
never
it.
felt scared or frightened of living in Epping. It's a brilliant place to live. We love it.
Right. Epping is probably a very nice place to live, but that's not the contentious issue here. The contentious issue is that there's migrants living there in hotels paid for by the taxpayer, and those migrants have went out and raped a young girl. That's a big deal. And the people living in Epping, the people that are not like you, probably the people with a slightly larger amygdala so they can recognize danger a little bit better than you, they're concerned for their own children. I'm guessing this woman either doesn't have children or they're grown and have left home, okay? But I'm just saying, these people, I don't think, should be representative of a local community. Yes, they might not have had their voices heard, but they're in the minority. And I think the people that are really concerned about their children and about the schools and the safety of other children, they should probably be the ones that should be listened to, not the lone star female queefing off, saying that everyone else is a bad person for recognizing danger.
And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, as he gets crippling news as his nightmare comes true. Yes, we've got two bits of information, key bits of information that's bad for Sadiq Khan, and we've also got a campaigner who has been campaigning, of course, for the victims of the grooming gangs, come out and scold him on live television. We're going to be watching that, but quite a lot to go over with regard to the London Mayor. But as always, guys, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. Okay, so first things first, guys. Yesterday I spoke in terms of the situation with regard to America publishing a memo with regard to mass migration and what it's doing to the West. Now, the UK has, of course, been specifically highlighted in certain areas, and we spoke about this before it was actually released in terms of the memo. But this one definitely goes against sort of Sadiq Khan. We're going to be getting to a bit in a minute on the grooming gangs, but this situation here with regards to the Department of State, this is something that, of course, Sadiq always talks about. It's the best thing. He said, "This is London. London is this. London is that. We're a successful multicultural society, and you know, migration makes everything, and this is how it is." But the Department of State, as you can see, mass migration poses an existential threat to Western civilization and undermines the stability of key American allies. Today, the State Department instructed U.S. embassies to report on the human rights implications and public safety impacts of mass migrations. Mass migrations is a human rights concern. Western nations have endured crime waves, terror attacks, sexual assaults, and the displacement of communities. U.S. officials will urge governments to take bold action and defend citizens against the threats posed by mass migration. Officials will also report policies that punish citizens who object to continued mass migration and document crimes and human rights abuses committed by people of migration background. These issues have plagued citizens of Western nations for years. Now, see here, the Department of State, by the way, this is Sadiq Khan, who has completely ignored and refused to even acknowledge what this was. But in the United Kingdom, thousands of girls have been victimized in Rotherham, Oxford, and Newcastle by grooming gangs involving migrant men. Many girls were left to suffer unspeakable abuse for years before authorities stepped in. So remember, Sadiq Khan said that he had no idea what this thing was, played stupid, refused to apologise to the sort of victims. Now we've got the official US Department of State here, guys. You can see 6.6 million followers. The official American Department of State, and of course them releasing a memo highlighting this key issue, and of course mass migration that he advocates for and speaks so highly of. Now on to the grooming gang situation. Of course, as we stated, he has came out time and time again and said that he doesn't have any knowledge of them in London. This is not something that he's aware of, you know, taking the absolute piss out of the victims. Now, Keir Starmer was asked about this situation yesterday, and of course you take things with what Keir Starmer says with a pinch of salt, because I do believe he's complicit in terms of protecting his people inside the Labour government, but he's pledged he will leave no stone unturned and investigate the scale of abuse in London primarily as well. The National Inquiry into Grooming Gangs will leave no stone unturned and investigate scale of abuse of children in London, Keir Starmer has pledged. Last month, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage accused Mayor of London, Sir Sadiq Khan, take away that, sir. Sorry, that was outrageous from me. Sadiq Khan and the Metropolitan Police of denying the existence of group-based child sexual exploitation in the capital. Scotland Yard recently said 9,000 cases of child sexual exploitation were being reviewed by officers following a national review into group-based sexual exploitation, which found it was more widespread, organised and underreported than previously acknowledged. Pressed on whether Sadiq has been gaslighting Britons over the scandal by reporters en route to the G20 in South Africa, Keir Starmer said, I think the National Inquiry can cover this, and the approach we've taken is no stone unturned. Whether it's in London or elsewhere, I've always said where there's evidence that could be investigated by the police, whether that's looking at old cases or new cases, that should be the first priority. My strong view is in these cases, that if there is evidence to put people before criminal courts, that is the first step and that should be taken. More broadly, the National Inquiry will leave no stone unturned, whether it is in this country. The mayor's spokesperson, Sadiq, regarded gangs that exploit children for sex as utterly abhorrent, and he wanted justice for every single victim. But we've never actually heard him say that. He has to come through his spokesperson. But this is crippling news for Sadiq Khan, because he's playing on the mantra that they don't exist in London whatsoever. London is the most perfect place, etc., etc. And yeah, this is just complete nonsense, far-right rhetoric that comes from Sadiq Khan's mouth. But of course, if again, we've got to take what Keir Starmer says, he's a compulsive liar as well. But of course, he's going to be investigating on his patch and leaving no stone unturned. And we've seen whistleblowers come out with regard to Sadiq and said that he was complicit in, or allegedly, covering up these sort of things as well. Now, let's get on over to where a campaigner for the grooming gangs come out and literally savagely destroys Sadiq Khan on live television.
In the capital. The Prime Minister is now vowing to investigate cases nationwide, leaving no stone unturned. This is being seen as a swipe at Sadiq Khan, who seems to think there isn't a problem. And when he was questioned on this subject in the London Assembly, he claimed to need the whole concept of grooming gangs explained to him. In any case, I'm joined
Nobody likes me saying rape gangs, although they are rape gangs. Grooming gangs that I would call rape gangs. Tell me about them. How many of those have we got? Not country lines, those particular groups.
To avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Yes, if you look at what's gone on in Rotherham, where there are people taking young girls, grooming them for sex, that is what I'm talking about.
We know in London there are issues about exploitation of young people, but they're not as defined by the member in her definition of what those types of gangs are.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for you to misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
Today we need to give a full answer. Can she be clear what she means by that? I'm not clear what she means.
How much clearer do you want me to be? Look at the gangs that they've uncovered in other parts of the country. Do we have those gangs in London? It's a simple question. The answer is very simple. It's yes or no. I'm not asking you where those gangs are because the police might not want them to be disclosed. I'm asking you, do we have those sort of gangs in London?
I'm not sure why she's so nervous to say what she means. What do you mean?
No. I am saying exactly what I mean. I'm saying, have we got any of those grooming gangs in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If she could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. What an utter car crash of an interview this is from the Prime Minister Keir Starmer. A fed up news host rips him to shreds on live television. Now, yesterday we watched a video or an interview of him with ITV, and he was essentially saying that he's brought trust back to British politics, which is absolutely deluded stance. But this one takes things up a notch. Just watch it, it's completely evasive and it's extremely excruciating to watch from an interview, but credit to the interviewer. As always, guys, we are going to be watching this, but first, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. And I suppose some of you may need a little bit of a push in the right direction. We have just launched our X profile. It is British Stand, and to celebrate joining the platform, we are doing a big giveaway. So jump over there, guys, and you know what to do. You can see and how you can win the big prize. So this is it, guys. Brace yourself, because quite frankly, this is a disgrace from the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister, is it important that politicians stick to their word?
Yes, it is important that politicians stick to their word. They have to make decisions against a difficult backdrop. And we've obviously got big decisions to make in the budget that's coming in just a few days' time.
So I've got your manifesto here. Will you keep your word not to increase taxes on working people? It's on page 21 in this document.
Well, we made that commitment, and obviously we'll lay out our plans at the budget, which is just a few days away now, so you'll be able to see exactly what decisions we've made. Now, obviously, we make those decisions against a very difficult backdrop. We had the 2008 crash, where people haven't felt much better off since then. We then had austerity for a number of years, which destroyed our public services. We then had a botched Brexit deal, which damaged our economy, and then then COVID and the conflict in Ukraine. But we will make. It's very important that we take the right decisions for our country. I'm optimistic about the future of this country. I absolutely believe that this can be much better on living standards, on our public services, and on how people feel.
You told me a year ago, days before the 2024 budget in Chockham, you said we made an absolute commitment that income tax wouldn't go up, national insurance wouldn't go up, their VAT, as in working people, wouldn't go up. I said that in the campaign, we're going to keep those promises. Will you make that commitment again today?
Well, Beth, we're going to set this out in just a few days.
You won't, will you?
Well,
you said that just a few days before the last budget.
You know
you did make the commitment before the last budget.
You know that the decisions will be made and set out in full in just a few days' time.
You're not going to.
You'll be able to.
Will you make the commitment again now? You won't, will you?
You will be able to hold me to account, Beth, when those principles are set, when those decisions are set out. But
you won't rule out tax rises on working people.
The principles will be fairness. And the three things that I'm bearing down above all else is protecting our public services, the NHS, cutting our debt, which is vitally important, and dealing with the cost of living crisis. Because for most people watching this, the cost of living will be their number one issue, and that's why it needs to be the number one priority of the government.
Cost of living. You won't rule out tax rises. You won't repeat your commitment not to raise taxes on working people. Freezing tax thresholds beyond 2028.
All I've said is we will set out our plans on Wednesday.
It's going to hurt working people, isn't it? Freezing tax thresholds.
Well, we're going to set out our plans on Wednesday. You will see them set out in full, and then you'll absolutely be rightly holding me to account for the decisions that we've made.
Your Chancellor said in last year's budget, freezing the thresholds will hurt working people. She's right, isn't she? I'm not asking you about the budget. I'm just asking you if it would hurt working people.
We are going to set out our decisions. We will have absolutely in mind that the cost of living is the number one issue for people across the country. And then we will make they'll be fully set out.
During the election, you promised not to raise taxes on working people. You put it in your manifesto.
We did.
Before the budget last year in Chogham, I asked you this. You recommitted to that. I just want to say on record now, you are not recommitting to that today, are you?
Well, it's only a matter of days now to the budget.
Okay.
And we will set out our plans in that budget. I've set out what the principles are.
Okay.
And I can tell you, I mean, politics for me is about who do you have in your mind's eye.
It's working people, and you're going to put their taxes up.
I have in my mind's eye people who are struggling with cost of living, who can't necessarily make ends meet. And that's political. It's also personal. When I was growing up, we couldn't always make ends meet. We couldn't always pay our bills. I know what it feels like to be in your kitchen around the table wondering which bills you're not going to be able to pay this month. And so having who you have in your mind's eye is really important. That's what I've got in my mind's eye as we go into this budget.
Okay, PM, you promised to end the chaos when you were elected, but since the summer we've had winter fuel U-turn, welfare U-turn, Rayner's resignation, Mandelson's sacking, Andy Burnham's leadership drama, the Wes Street in number 10 showdown, pitch rolling in income tax rises only to U-turn. You haven't ended chaos, you are the chaos.
Look, every minute that we're not talking about the cost of living is a wasted minute.
But this is chaos.
But at the same time, we have delivered free childcare for children between 9 months and 4 years. That's a game changer for children when they're in their education.
Do you acknowledge?
And for parents.
Do you acknowledge?
Only yesterday we were rolling out the extension of free breakfast clubs. We're freezing prescription charges. We're maintaining the cap on bus fares.
So none of the none of the stuff that I've just mentioned, that you're just going to gloss over that and not acknowledge that this is chaotic.
No, I'm not. But I'm really conscious of the fact that what the majority of people want to know is, if my number one issue is paying the bills and making sure I can make ends meet, what are you doing about that? And that's why it's important for me to say these are the measures we're taking.
Are you let me put it another way. Are you disappointed about what's been going on in your Downing Street since September?
I think that every minute that we're not bearing down on the cost of living is a wasted minute.
As this user has said here, utterly appalling interview by Keir Starmer. He's evasive, vocious, emotionless, and a compulsive liar. It genuinely is a car crash of an interview. Now, it's quite frankly a disgrace. Now, you know all of those things. If you want to know the truth from Keir Starmer, if he's asked a question and he doesn't answer it, then you know that that's going to happen, essentially. So if taxes weren't going up, he wouldn't be going, well, let's wait till the autumn budget. He wouldn't want to sort of play around with the economy and the pound sort of rating and F around with businesses and whatnot. He would just say, no, taxes aren't going up and whatnot. But whenever there is going to be something happening, he always has to sort of ditter around and say, you know, evade the questions that are coming his way. But credit to the news host. She's a part of the mainstream media, Sky, and she's giving him a tough time. And this just shows the sort of consciousness of all of the sort of journalists at this moment in time when they're dealing with Keir Starmer. He's so hard to get anything out of, and you can always tell when he's lying now. The gig's up for the Prime Minister, and quite frankly, he had another disgrace of an interview. As always, guys, do let me know your thoughts on that interview down there in the comments section below. And don't forget, we are doing a huge giveaway on X to celebrate our arrival to the platform. So do get involved by heading over to British Stand. Guys, take care, look after yourselves. Peace. And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are dedicating this to the ultra left-wing liberal MPs that we're starting to see get popularity, or at least have the loudest voices in the room, so to speak. Firstly, your party, Islamist Zarul Sultana, is on BBC Question Time, and she gets absolutely humiliated for her points on BBC Question Time. We've also got the Green Party Vice Leader, or Deputy Leader, of course, saying that asylum seekers should flood the United Kingdom because they are doctors and they're engineers. Let's break these lunatics down. But as always, guys, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. So first things first, I want to discuss Zara Sultana. Again, she is clueless. I mean, she's clueless in a lot of different things, and she's certainly not for the British people first. We've seen that time and time again. Just last week, of course, she came out speaking with regard to Soldier Ref and, you know, going against all sorts of things that deem patriot. Her sort of one sole focus, of course, is on Palestine, and the rest of the other stuff is just super liberal ideas that just don't work. Now, here on BBC Question Time, she thinks she's smart. You can see Reform's Danny Kruger patiently trying to explain the economic facts of life to left-wing extremist Zara Sultana. Grown-ups fruitlessly trying to reason with the deluded child. She's essentially saying that we need to tax the super rich into oblivion, much like the Green Party sort of mantra as well. And I've said loads and loads of times this just does not work at all. But let's have a watch of this firstly on BBC Question Time.
It's the rich who pay most of the taxes. You start taxing the rich will leave, and the poor will stay even poorer.
They won't leave.
They are leaving.
They will not leave.
They're already leaving.
They will leave.
This is some scaremongering that's done. That if you tax the super rich, and like I said, the 20,000 people in the country have assets over £10 million, they are not going to leave their assets and just move to another country.
Yes,
their kids are in the private schools here. Their culture, their lifestyle is very much in this country. And I think that's scaremongering to justify nurses and teachers in Coventry South paying more taxes than the billionaires, than Amazon and Facebook, who get to negotiate their taxation deals with the government. I think that's criminally unfair. I think we shouldn't be taxing work. We should be taxing wealth more. Because
I just want to come in on the. Thank you. I just want to come. It's really wrong to say that that high wealth taxes, high taxation doesn't drive away the wealthy. It really does. 17,000 high net worth individuals left this country last year. But worse than that, Zara, 150,000 young people, talented young people, have left this country because they don't see this country as being the place for them. So that is the chronic result of a system and a government that doesn't respect wealth creation and that thinks, as you do, that somehow people with wealth have somehow stolen it from other people and that it should be removed from them by the government and redistributed. Of course, they do pay their fair
we
can argue about
that. That wealth isn't taxed as fairly as work.
No, but hang on. The wealthiest people do pay proportionately far more of their income and, of course, their wealth than other people. And as the gentleman says, this is the source of growth in our country. We have to get behind the wealth creators. That is the only place to get taxation from. It's also the place that creates, it's the source of jobs. It's the source of the businesses that we all rely on. We need to get behind entrepreneurs, yes, tax them properly, but crucially invite the wealthy of the world to come and set up businesses here, invest in our country, and stay here and make a home. We will all be the beneficiaries of that.
All right, I've got 10 minutes left, and I want to fit in this question, because
now, this has been a talking point for absolute decades, hundreds of years. Go and tax the rich, they need to pay the majority of the tax. And Zara says, well, they won't leave because they've got assets and their kids go to private schools here. She has no idea on how it works. She really doesn't know how this works whatsoever. Now, the rich already pay majority of the taxes. They already do. Whether you want it to believe that it's set up fairly, they still do pay more tax than the average working person. Now, she's saying that they don't leave. Only China is set to lose more millionaires than the UK. As you can see, UAE is getting the majority of the millionaires coming into their country and the wealth creators, the business people, the entrepreneurs, and the UK is losing them at a bucket load. And that's before any of these left-wing lunatics are even into power. That's because the tax is unbearable already with inside the United Kingdom, and already we're losing mass amounts. And now another reason why taxing the rich fails massively, because it always falls down to the middle class, and they're the ones that are going to have to lump the rest of it. But look, as she doesn't know anything about business and what it is. The ultra rich don't earn their money, they structure it. Most high net worth individuals don't take big salaries. They use dividends, capital gains, trusts, offshore entities, company loans, asset appreciation. So when governments raise income tax on the rich, it barely hits them. They don't have much taxable income in that category. Now, this is basic economics and basic things with regard to business setup that Zara clearly doesn't know anything about. They can move their wealth and themselves. The top 1% can simply change tax residence like that. In the UK, it's simply very, very easy. Shift assets offshore, register companies in low tax jurisdictions, transfer ownership into foundations or trust. The money doesn't disappear, it just leaves the country you're trying to tax. Governments end up collecting less, not more. High taxes discourage investment and job creation. If investors face huge taxes, they invest less. That's also going to affect working and middle class. Less investment equals fewer new businesses equals fewer jobs equals less growth. It's a lose-lose situation. Governments waste money faster than they collect it. Now, would you trust a government that is led by Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana, or in fact the Green Party to manage the extra tax funds? If they did get away with this anyway, they would spend it on absolutely ludicrous stuff, probably sending it to, build up Palestine and all of these kind of things. They overspend, mismanage funds, create bloated public sector payrolls, throw money at failing schemes, which they would do. Liberals are, they act on emotion and suicidal empathy. They would just make the place absolutely disastrous. When you tax the rich, you usually hit the upper middle class instead. The truly rich escape. As we've mentioned, it's very, very easy. Small business owners will then, of course, feel it. They were the ones that are going to brunt it all. As we've already said so many times, because the ultra rich will leave and Zara is not educated, they will leave. Trust me, they will leave. Small business owners will then take the brunt of it. Professionals, medium-sized entrepreneurs, and this here, people earning 80k to 200k who already pay 45% will then be bearing the brunt of that. So it doesn't work whatsoever. And as you can see here, higher taxes don't solve structural problems. Countries like France, Italy, Sweden, UK all tried raising taxes significantly. Did inequality disappear? Nope, because the problem is uncontrolled government spending, low productivity, immigration pressures, declining industry, broken welfare models, economic stagnation. You can't fix these by just taxing the rich. There is a ceiling beyond it and you get diminishing returns. Economists call this the Laffer curve. There's a point where higher tax rates equals lower tax revenue because people change behavior to avoid it. Every country hits the wall eventually. So there you go. We've worked out that does not work. I mean, these people, she's a deputy leader of a party. She's coming onto live television and trying to speak to the people. They're trying to psyop the younger generation and the people that are struggling down at the bottom and thinking, oh, this is the answer. Why haven't we tried it? Trust me, they've tried it for hundreds of years to try and do it. It does not freaking work. It doesn't work. If it was that easy, then loads of governments would have done it. It doesn't work. And if they're, the Green Party and this Your Party, if they're trying to plead with young people on a promise that they're going to do that, then they're just going to completely let them down and destroy the economy. And that's a dangerous rhetoric to go down where they're lying because they know that they can't do it. Or Zara actually might think that she can do it, but they won't be able to do it. And they'll be delivering change on a broken promise from the start. More to the point, in a beautiful world, why are we trying to damage our creators? Why are we trying to send our best people? And I don't like to use it like this. I know rich people doesn't necessarily mean that they're better than everybody else, but usually money is a byproduct. I'm talking about the self-made people, right? Money is a byproduct for what you have created and